oral, sorry about that, transmission, which is definitely a thing that happens, and it's a little bit disgusting, but it does. Please wash your hands after you go to the bathroom. It's super gross. Fecal oral transmission also can come from fecal matter in water and other meats and things that you'd eat at restaurants. Way more common than you would like to believe. Stress, again, worsens this. It creates more acid, and then it leaks out faster and makes the hole bigger, if you can imagine. It just exacerbates the situation. Like, you have this hole from the bacteria that's eroded away, and now you have stress, which creates more acid, and that makes the hole bigger. It's usually diagnosed based on an x-ray to examine the ulcer and the presence of pylori in clinical specimens. It's, again, prevented by avoiding fecal oral transmission, eating very clean food, washing your hands, being around people that wash your hands. Bacterial gastroenteritis, inflammation of the stomach or intestines caused by various bacteria and associated with contaminated food or water or poor living conditions in general. General features. Really, dysentery, it produces loose, frequent stools containing mucus and blood. It's gross. Nobody wants dysentery. It's really, really bad. You have to, this is where you need to go get some electrolyte replacement. So you go have a Gatorade or something. And it's prevented by just proper handling, storage, and preparation of food. So you don't want to eat at restaurants that are gross, and people are not very frequently washing their hands. Again, properly cooking your meat. So get a meat thermometer if you're grilling this summer. It's really not that hard. They're like $3 at Menards. Get yourself a meat thermometer. And make sure that your meat is cooked to the proper temperature so that it's killing off the bacteria that could be in there from either poor handling or contamination from the actual animal itself, right? The animals have, the animals, when they're butchered, they have other parts. So there can be contamination that way. So you really, really want to cook your meat well. Okay. Shigella is Shigellosis. It's a very cool name. Again, I don't say it as cool as it sounds when other people say it. This is a type of gastroenteritis, again, Shigella, and it essentially is a type 3 secretion system, and it colonizes cells of the small intestines, and then it moves from the small intestines to the large intestines, and it's diagnosed primarily by the presence of the Shigella in your stools. It, again, here is your Shigella, and it's going to be what? Endocytosed. It's going to come inside the cell. It's going to replicate. It's going to go from cell to cell. It's going to avoid the immune deficiency because there's no bacteria inside the cell. So then it's going to just replicate and replicate. Again, you're going to get an abscess here, and then it's going to rupture, and it's going to get into your blood vessels. But at that point, it can enter the blood, and it's usually quickly phagocytosed. So it's not, it doesn't really move around in the blood. It just moves around in your intestines. Traveler's diarrhea. This is also good times. Caused by E. coli. Some of you have E. coli as your unknown. It is, again, you get E. coli. There are E. coli outbreaks at restaurants from poor handling of food, from just uncleanliness. It's common even in developing countries. It's diagnosed by E. coli, and many of you are very capable of diagnosing E. coli. Treatment is, again, based, you want fluids, you want anti-diarrhea medicine, and you want to replace all the fluids that you're using with some electrolytes. Campylobacter jejuni, C. jejuni, very fun. Campylobacter is just another pathogen that can get into your digestive system. Chickens are the main source. This is why you want to really cook your chicken. It causes bleeding lesions inside your digestive system, and it's again identified by Campylobacter in your stools. Most cases do resolve themselves on their own, but again, it's preventing poor hygiene and handling raw poultry without washing your hands and being clean. That's what it looks like if you were interested. Pseudomembrane colitis. Again, different forms of diarrhea. This is like 101 ways you can get diarrhea in your digestive system. Good times. Okay, so you have colitis. There are different types of pathogens that cause your colitis. Colostrum difficile, C. diff. Basically, it's C. diff. And it is toxic, and it inflames your pseudomembrane formation, and you get colitis, which looks like this. It causes these lesions in your, yeah, that's not good. So nobody really wants colitis or C. diff, if you want to call it that. It's a byproduct of modern medicine, and any antimicrobial can trigger this disease. Again, it's just because you are taking away the healthy microbes, and this is just one of those that pops up sometimes when you're on too much medication. Diagnosis is based on the presence of the C. diff in your stool. So this is why they don't want you to just unnecessarily use antibiotics, where we're just passing out antibiotics like candy. If you think you can handle it, then don't use the antibiotics, because you can get C. diff or other things when you mess with the microflora that's naturally in your digestive system. Again, proper hygiene is also important in this area. Salmonella. See, and this is like a top 10 things. So salmonella, caused by salmonella, and it also can cause typhoid fever. The bacteria tolerate remember I said you don't have a natural microbiome in your stomach because it is super acidic. Well, salmonella can handle some of that, tolerate some of that acidity of your stomach, and so then the toxin disrupts the cellular activities of your stomach. And it can cause typhoid fever, which is acquired by contaminated food or water, and it's often acquired by consuming contaminated eggs. So this is why eggs are usually pasteurized, or things are pasteurized. Well, you just don't want to eat raw eggs. This is the reason that you're not supposed to eat the raw cookie dough. So you're literally taking your life in your hands every time you eat the raw cookie dough. I have made this choice numerous times, and I'm still alive to tell you about it. But that is where the salmonella happens, and it primarily is from eating raw eggs, and it's, when you eat the cookie dough. So again, you have the salmonella. Anyone want to guess what happens here? Endocytosis. Couldn't guess that, could you? Endocytosis. Endocytosis, replication, salmonella with food. So you have sort of the same thing. Salmonella kills its host cell, fever, cramps, diarrhea. And then your salmonella can actually move into the bloodstream, and that's when it starts to get really bad. It can be phagocytosed in the bloodstream, but it also has already entered the bloodstream, and that is not great. So it's diagnosed by finding the salmonella in the stool, and it usually is self-limiting. The typhoid fever can be treated with antimicrobial drugs, and it's prevented by proper hygiene. I feel like that's the case in all of these. Please wash your hands. Go brush your teeth. Take a shower. Wash your hands. Cholera. So caused by V. cholera occurs in both salt and fresh water. In environments with human body activates some of these cholera genes. The most important virulence factor is the production of the cholera toxin. Pandemics have occurred throughout history with cholera, and the cholera toxin produces a severe diarrhea, and then that gets in the water. Do you see the cycle here? That can happen with cholera if you didn't know. So your cholera binds to the membranes, comes in, endocytoses inside, creates a series of reactions, and basically completely messes with the lumen. This is your the lumen of your intestines here. So, okay. Diagnose is based on the presence of rice water stools. So if there looks like there's rice in your stools, there's a good chance you have cholera. Treated with supportive care and administration of doxycycline. Available vaccine provides only short-lived immunity. Proper hygiene is important in preventing cholera. Okay, common forms. So basically, there's just a giant chart of all of these. You've got Shigella, you've got traveler's diarrhea, you've got E. coli, you've got Campylobacter, you've got C. diff, you've got salmonella, and you have typhoid fever and cholera. So we'll end this video on that cheery note.